Hi guys, so I know it's been a while since I've done a video. School has been really complicated and also I've been busy with work. But another really big reason is because this is kind of a hard video for me to record. My cat's pawing at the door because she wants to, but she'll just mess with everything and break it. Anyway. I've been wanting to do a video in relation to something very important to me, especially in relation to the fact that I feel like if I had seen other people that I had looked up to do a similar thing, I may not have been in the state that I was for as long as I was. So the best way I could think to go over this really is for me to share my own personal experience and what I've learned from it and what I'm still learning. So, without further ado, here we go. When I was a freshman in high school, I had just moved back to a town I hadn't been in for 5 years, and I was excited because my best friend was there, but most of the other people I went to school with didn't even remember me. And the fact that they didn't remember me was pretty hard. I spent a lot of time on the internet, like I do nowadays, to be honest, and I spent a lot of time on YouTube. I'm not naming any names of anything. It doesn't really matter, that's not important. But there was a YouTuber that I came across that I idolized. And I mean, I really idolized her. And eventually that idolization became self-loathing, and I became a very envious, angry person with myself. And part of that was because I was under the impression that her life was perfect. And I know, in hindsight that's really kind of dumb, but I was a 15-year-old who was already really unhappy and kind of lonely. So I felt even more isolated from people I looked up to. I started to dislike a lot about myself. I wanted to be her, and I realized I couldn't be. I didn't have her life. I didn't have her luck or perceived luck. Things didn't work out in my life the way that they did in hers, which is normal. It's not how things work all the time, but that's okay. But at the time, I didn't know, and I didn't feel like it was. I had incredibly low self-esteem because of it. In middle school, I had a guy I really liked tell me I wasn't pretty enough to date, and that stuck with me. So I was really unhappy. As the years progressed, I started to make friends who had similar interests, other friends who dyed their hair weird colors or listened to similar music, and I thought things were going to be really good for a while. But my junior year of high school, things kind of went downhill again for me. I didn't even have a reason, if that makes sense. There wasn't a big event that happened that was the source of it. I didn't have a loss in my family or something that I felt I personally could consider a significant reason for the emotional state I was in. At first it was something kind of small. I just didn't really have a lot of motivation for much. I easily talked myself out of things because I was thoroughly convinced that I wasn't good enough. I had what I've once been told is called the itty bitty shitty committee in my head, telling me all of the things that I liked or wanted to do were done, and that I was alone. And that because I didn't have some big important reason for feeling the way I did, that it wasn't legitimate. And that was what made it really hard. Senior year came around, and a lot of those friends that I had made ended up just leaving. There was a girl I was really good friends with who just stopped talking to me one day. And I still to this day, like almost 5 years later, I don't know why. And not having that closure has been kind of hard. And at the time, I was such a mess and so lost trying to find myself that I blamed myself very harshly. I assumed whatever I had done must have been terrible. And the funny thing is that for the longest time, the way I made myself feel better was doing my hair. And in hindsight, I feel bad for what I kind of put my parents through in that sense. My mom, far too many times, had to deal with me crying uncontrollably because my hair didn't turn out perfect and it was the only thing I could control. I was so convinced that I wasn't going to do anything else worthwhile, that I couldn't control my grades as much as I wanted. I couldn't control where my life was going because I'd already felt like I'd messed it up so much. I couldn't control the friends that I had because I lost them for no reason. There's a lot of things I felt I didn't have control over that I just wasn't good enough for. And because of that, I put a lot of mine into my hair. And honestly, that's not a bad thing to put it in. There are a lot worse ways for me to have been expressing that need for control. And I got a lucky end in that. But because of that, I spent a lot of time angry, and crying, and hating myself. I, for a very long time, or at least it felt like a very long time, couldn't stand who I was. Felt like I'd missed out on so many opportunities and that I was just a giant wannabe. That everyone else was so much better at whatever I wanted than me, so why should I bother? It wasn't until my sophomore year of college that it got really, really bad. And then my sophomore year is actually last year, I didn't go to classes anymore. I was spending thousands of dollars on college, and I even had tons of scholarships that I'm currently, as of right now, trying to get back. Because I let everything fall. I was so unhappy and so numb that I didn't want to get out of bed. I had no motivation to get out of my own bed. The only reason I ever put makeup on was because I hated how I looked without it. I didn't want anyone else to know I felt the way I did. And so I essentially wore it to hide. I still did things with my hair constantly because, again, I didn't want anyone to know something was off, and me not doing my hair was a big sign to a lot of people. And so I let myself fail a lot of classes. I didn't really attend a lot of classes. I didn't do a whole lot, and I spent most of my time feeling like I was wasting people's time and money, and I was just disappointing everyone. That I was disappointing my parents because they had such high hopes for me, and I went from being an honors student to losing all of my scholarships. And I felt like I was disappointing my friends because they couldn't even trust me to follow through on plans. I let a lot of things fall. And I hurt myself a lot more than I had ever planned to. And a lot of that hatred and anger with myself, I was scared to admit was me and mine. Sorry. So I tried to turn it onto other people. I tried to blame that YouTuber that it's her fault for everything being so perfect for her. Why can't my life work out that way? Why can't I just be handed things? And later on I found out that she had depression too. And I was scared to even admit that that's what I had. It wasn't until I had both two doctors, and two clinicians tell me that I had clinical depression, but that I thought maybe I did, because I was so convinced I didn't have a good enough reason. I couldn't possibly have it, because my life was good. I wasn't happy, but things were decent. I had a family that loved me, had a lot of support. I was smart, so I didn't feel I had a right to feel the way I did. And so when I found out that this YouTuber had depression and anxiety and had gone through a lot of the stuff that I was going through, I was angry. I was angry because I felt I was lied to. That they were so scared what everyone else was going to think, that they weren't going to seem perfect, that they weren't willing to admit what was wrong. I had come to the realization that a lot of what I was doing was projecting. I was blaming her for the fact I wasn't doing anything about it for myself. There were a lot of things at my disposal that I just didn't use. I could be getting a counselor from the university, but I didn't at the time. I was convinced that no one wanted to hear my problems anyway. They were mundane. So I had myself in this really bad rut, and I was spending that time blaming someone I'd never even met, that I didn't even look up to anymore, that anymore I had harbored a bitter jealousy of. And I was blaming them for the fact that I felt the way I did. That if they had told me all their deep, dark secrets, told the whole internet that things weren't perfect, then I'd be fine. And that's ridiculous. And they don't deserve that kind of hate. And it took me a while to get over that. It took me about a year to realize that I was bitter and jealous and angry because I hadn't done what I wanted to, and it was easier to blame it on her than on me. So I had decided, after I'd spent years telling myself I wanted to do YouTube videos and never doing them, that I finally would. And the one thing that I would do to make sure that everyone out there knew that they aren't alone was let them know that I've been through depression. I still am. I take medication for it pretty regularly. I talk to a counselor. I have to give myself self-affirmations a lot of the time to be able to convince myself to keep doing things. I have to look forward to the very small things throughout the day and the little accomplishments to push myself forward, to even convince myself to go to classes. But I'm changing and I'm trying. And it's hard. Trust me, I know it's hard. I might not know your specific situation. And I'm not saying that I'm in the same boat as you exactly, or that anything that you're feeling isn't valid, is worse or better than someone else. What I want you to know is that I feel you, and I'm here. I spent too long unhappy with myself, and the least I could do, since I'm working on it with myself, is to help anyone else who needs that. Depression sucks, but it doesn't make you. It's a part of you. It's not all of you. And so I want everyone else that's suffering from any of it to know that no matter how hard things get, no matter how down you feel, how much you want to give up, even if you feel like no one else cares, I care. And I know that probably sounds dumb and cliche because I'm just a girl on the internet and I don't even have any real significance in your life aside from a YouTube video. That doesn't mean I don't care. If you're watching this and you're down and you're upset or something isn't going right and things are hard, and the one thing you need is a friend, I am that friend. I'm here, okay? And I'm gonna miss you. No matter what happens, you matter. Never doubt that. Things are gonna seem really hard sometimes, but it does not make you. You are more than your mental illness. You are more than your situation. You are you, and no one can take that from you. It's an uphill battle. And I know that. And I've come to terms with the fact that things aren't easy. Things aren't just gonna magically work out for me, and that I have to try a hell of a lot harder to convince myself to do a lot of real basic things. But even the little wins are still a win. Small successes are still successes. And no matter how down things get, people care. And even if you think no one else does, I care, okay? I care. Your life is important. And you're gonna be somebody fantastic. Even if you don't think it. You have a purpose, one way or another. You've got a reason for being here. People love you. I'm included in that. If you ever need to just think one person out there who cares, I care. And I'm always gonna care. I just want you to know that there's a lot of other people who are going through it too. You're not alone. You don't have to be alone. You can reach out. There's going to be a hell of a lot of hands who are willing to help pull you up along the way. We got to be here for each other. And if I have to put a bit of my heart out there on the internet for the world to see and scrutinize, to know at least maybe someone, at least one person is going to feel like this helped in some way, that's enough for me. So thanks for watching, and promise it's not always going to be like this. I know this was a bit out of place comparatively, but thank you. You guys have a great day, I mean that. Hopefully it's beautiful, whether that's sunshiny or gray skies or snow. Hope the day is beautiful. And I hope at least one thing that happens you can smile about. One good thing. It's all that matters. Bye guys.